Well, hello, hello, and welcome to another edition of Inspiring Nations with Sonja Keeve. I am your host, and I am excited to bring to you another amazing guest. And we have with us Miss Panya Dixon. And let me just share a little bit about her to you all so you can get to really know her more. Miss Panya embodies the word empowerment. In every move, she projects positivity, offers thoughtful, sincere, and honest words that help nurture and develop the strengths of those around her. She teaches about strengthening confidence and allowing you to take control and regain your power over those obstacles that sometimes make us feel powerless. She is a domestic violence survivor with a testimony that she hopes will inspire others. And I'm excited to have her with us on our show today. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Panya Dixon. Well, hello, superstar. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Wonderful. I just first want to just thank you for coming on our show today.
Thank you
And
for having me.
absolutely. And if you would just, tell us, I know I read your bio, but there's
Mhm.
nothing like you sharing who you are to the world. So,
Mhm.
take this time to just introduce yourself to the world and who you are.
Okay. So my name is Panya Dixon, and I am the author. My first book, I am the author of Why Didn't You Ask? And it is my personal story of domestic violence and rape. So I experienced domestic violence as a teen. It started when I was about 15 and lasted for about 13 years. In that process, I was also raped by another individual. And so the story is powerful. It is a lot. It is a lot. And also, I just, I feel like it's, my testimony, and I do want it to be a blessing for other women to know that even though bad things happen to you, they don't have to control who you are. You can, move past that. You can live past those things. You can love past those things. And so I'm excited to be able to share my story and hopefully inspire other women to have a voice, or men even, because a lot of men go through it as well, have you use their voice or their testimony to be able to also share and help with someone else. Absolutely. Because it's really silence. And I often say that, and you can hear it says that silence creates and promotes violence. So when you're silent about it, because a lot of times people are ashamed, but I have found that me not, being able to share my story and step out of that silence has been a blessing for me. And I'm just really hopeful that it'll be a blessing for other women as well.
Well, first of all, let me just say kudos to you for even sharing your story, because I know for many women that have gone through this, I cannot imagine like all of the emotions you must feel. There must be a feeling of shame, guilt, hurt, even embarrassment. And for you to step out into the spaces that you are and to share the story, the title of that book, Why Didn't You Ask? What made you kind of come up with that topic? Like when you say, why didn't you ask? What do you hope the readers get from reading this particular book?
Okay. So why didn't you ask? Early along in the process, it took me about a year to write the story. And I actually had a ghostwriter, but I encouraged her to come out the closet. So her name is Ashley Chisholm. She'll probably be watching. Hi, Ashley. So Ashley, actually an excellent writer. And so she and I co-wrote together, but she helped me to put my feelings and everything I need to say on paper. Okay. But why didn't you ask? So we were well into about 6 or 7 months into the book, trying to finish it up. And I still didn't have a name. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what a name, but I wanted to kind of flow and go authentically. So as I was reading over some chapters, I was like, man, looking at it on paper and then replaying it in my head, I was like, man, why didn't anyone ever ask me, about what was going on with me? And I was like, boom, that's it. Why didn't you ask? Because even though most of my family knew about it, knew that what had happened to me, so it wasn't a secret.
Right.
Most of them, especially when we got deep down into the years, knew that something wasn't right with the relationship based off of how I acted, although no one ever said anything.
Right.
And so, yes, so the title came from just simple as that. No one ever asked me. And so I really wanted to, writing the story is about my personal life. Names have been changed.
Right.
Was to protect privacy of ones. And it's also
Absolutely.
my experience. It's also my experience. So I even told my family, even some of, my friends or whatever, that it's through my eyes. What I have learned is that everybody's experience is different. So it'll be, family and friends back then will be like, I don't remember it like that because it's my experience.
Yes.
I didn't remember it that way because it's my experience. And so I really go into my head space. And that's what I call it, into my head, and thinking of, what I was feeling at the time and what I was thinking at the time when, those things were happening. So yes, that title, Why Didn't You Ask, came from no one ever asked me. What I know now is that they didn't ask because they didn't know what to say. Right. So most of the time people don't know what to say. You say nothing because you don't know what to say. You don't know, it's, when things happen, death happens or bad things happen, people just typically tend to not say anything because they don't know what to say. So it's not an attack on my family or friends. It's just that, they didn't know what to say. We live, I'm originally from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I call it the Southern Black Bible Belt, where they teach us to pray about it and shove it. See, God gonna work it out. Mm-hmm. What I know now is that faith without work is dead.
Yes.
If you don't do the work, how is anything going to get accomplished or get done?
Yes.
So,
well, that really tugs at your heart, because I have not experienced it, but I do know people who have been through it. I hear that a lot, that when they're going through it, they feel the shame, but then they're looking for that validation, just like you said, like, well, why didn't you ask if you knew something was wrong? So when I understand that you're also a certified life coach.
Yes.
So do you have clients that have gone through domestic violence? And if you do, like, how do you first even coach someone? Like, how do they even come to you to be able to say, I need help through this?
Right. So most of the time people don't really ask because they don't know how to ask.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they don't know how to ask. So just in touching back on my situation, I talk about why didn't anybody ask, but I also talk about why I felt like I couldn't ask anybody. What happened, over the years, and once I got to the end and really just made some decisions about, moving forward with my life and transitioning on out of the domestic violent relationship, when I asked for help, I got it.
Okay.
When I asked for help, I got it. It took 13 years, but, once I got the strength and the courage to do that, it happened. Yes. And, it happened. So I talk about why people didn't ask, but also the ability to ask. If you need help, ask. Open your mouth and ask. So when I've had clients and things to come to me before, or going through domestic violence, I talk about, to try to figure out to the extreme of what they're going through, because sometimes some levels of violence are different than others. There's different levels to it.
Right.
So some domestic violence relationships are high, really high intensive. So, you have to watch what you watch on TV, who you talk to on the phone and things like that. So the number one thing is to make sure that you're safe.
Yes.
Make sure that you're safe,
okay.
As safe at all possible. And then sometimes too, I'm not able to help people because I'm not like a therapist or anything like that, just to coach. And so if someone needs more intensive, like if they need help with shelter or they need legal assistance and things like that, then I'll help them find, the information that they need. So my goal also in sharing my stories is to also be able to provide tools and resources, because I didn't have those back then. I figured that I just imagine if I was a 16-year-old Panya in a high school auditorium. I don't know about you, but back then we would have assemblies. You remember assemblies?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And so I'm imagining that if I was sitting in an assembly and someone came to speak or to talk about domestic violence, then I would have been able to put a name with it.
Right.
Because no one ever really talked about it. So I didn't even realize, of course, since I became an adult that, man, this isn't right. I knew it wasn't right,
Right.
but I just didn't know what to do with it either. I didn't know what to do with it. Mm-hmm.
And what I appreciate about your story is that even though you went through this dark period in your life for so many years, you were able to rise above it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And talk to me and our audience a little bit how you were able to come out of this on the other side, because I know sometimes in dark places we can tend to stay there because, like you said, we don't go ask for the help. But you can't always, my husband always tells me, like, when you're in a dark place, you can have that moment, but don't live in it. And so for you, how were you able to kind of rise above it despite what you had been through? Like, what was that journey like for you?
So when I decided to leave the relationship, it had been a hit that had knocked me unconscious. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, I'm spiritual. I know some people are and some people aren't. Some people say they're right mind, third mind. I call it the Holy Spirit said it's time.
Mm-hmm.
If you stay, you're going to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was just like that. In 13 years, I made it laying on the floor, coming back, to consciousness that, hey, this is it.
Yeah.
And so that's not everybody else, that's not a whole bunch of people's testimony, but mine was simply, you can do this. It was just something in me and my spirit and my soul that said, you can live past this. If you stay, this is not going to end well for you. And so in that moment, I decided to say, yes, I'm going to live. I'm going to live and I'm going to push past this. I'm going to be okay. And in that day, I, called my parents.
Okay.
And both of them were, and explained to them what I had been going through, and both of them came right in, both together, and provided the resources and the tools that I needed. So many people do not have those resources. So I am blessed that I did have those resources for my parents to be able to help me transition out, of the marriage. But even if you don't have resources, there are so many different organizations and nonprofit organizations that are out here that, can help you. So I also go out and public speak on behalf of the Women Resource Center to End Domestic Violence here in Atlanta, Georgia. So I live in the suburb of Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
So I go out and speak and talk to people, to the public about different resources. So very passionate about that.
Okay.
I think it's very important to have, for women to be able to have those resources. So even if you don't have that family support, there are support systems out here that can help you.
Awesome. And so now are you working full time? Like, how did you go from, becoming this speaker and this woman of empowerment? Like, I know for many of us, our journeys, can start from an experience and then it just kind of morphs, however you see it, whether it's spiritually or journey that you've been on. So as you became a coach, like, what made you decide to become a coach, and are you a full-time entrepreneur?
Okay. So no, I am not a full-time entrepreneur, not yet. I'm claiming it soon.
Okay.
I still do work full-time. Okay. So I work full-time. I'm married. I have 3 children. Extremely busy. But what I do know now, just for anybody who is listening, or inspiring to share their story, to write a book, to start their own business, that busy people get things done.
Yes.
Okay? So busy people get things done. And so what you do is you just kind of take each task one day at a time. But yes, I do work full time. Just got off a few minutes ago. Here.
Yes.
So I do work full time. I wrote my book in spare time. I actually, and I'm not a full-time head-on certified life coach. So I'll coach, people in between, just individuals. So I don't have a client list or things like that, because initially when I became a certified life coach, I was saying, yes, I want to be able to help, women push past and get through their domestic violence. But what I realized is that I want to do that on a larger scale. So I am a fan of Lisa Nichols, and I love her phrase of motivating the masses.
Yes.
And so I wanted to be able to do it on a larger scale, to be able to reach more people, So I became a certified life coach, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to start public speaking. So I started doing that. But then when I realized if I want to make this into a business, that I don't have a product. And so then the book came about. The book came to life from there. And so from the book, then also too, I want to, eventually create an online community. And so all of that is coming in the works. So I'm excited about it. I am excited. I'm very excited about it.
Well, I am so excited, and I'm glad that you shared that with the audience, because I'm always in spaces where full-time corporate employees, they're sitting on their jobs and they're wondering, well, what can I do as a business? And I always share that it always starts with understanding your passion.
Yes.
And really figuring out what you're really good at. And for you, it seemed like, even though it was a painful time in your life, you recognize that the niche market for you and for the spaces you wanted to be in is to help empower other women who are going through the same thing you have been through. And so with your passion, I love the idea that you mentioned that it started with needing products, because ladies and gentlemen, you have to start out with a product. And I started, and what's interesting is you mentioned Lisa Nichols. And I absolutely love her as well, because I have always taught people, and this may be something you may think about in terms of your headspace. And when you're kind of going through dark periods of time, one thing I learned from Lisa Nichols is you have to do what's called the mirror work.
Yes, absolutely.
And the mirror work, from what I learned from her, was that you say 7 things that you're proud of, 7 things that you forgive yourself for, and then 7 things that you would commit to do. So if I were to ask you, not name 7, but just name me 1 thing you're most proud of, 1 thing that you forgive yourself for, and then 1 thing that you'll commit to.
So one thing that I'm proud of is actually finishing the book. I have always, and I don't know if there's anybody else out there, but I've always been what I call a start stopper. Typically when the going gets tough, I'm out. Oh Lord, it's too much, that's too much. Oh, I got to do too much. And I let it fade on away. And so I've done, dibbled and dabbled in a few things. And my husband's always been that support. So even when I was like, okay, I'm writing this book, he was like, okay. So when it got finished, I was like, guess what? I finished it. He was like, yay, you finally finished something. Great. So I am very, very excited about being open to sharing my story. And let me see, you said 1 thing that I was proud of. And what was that 1 thing?
1 thing that you forgive yourself for. And
so one thing I forgive myself for is holding myself hostage to all of those things that happened to me. And so I'm I forgive myself for that, but I'm also proud that I was able to set myself free. Set myself free to be able to live again, to love again. I thank God that I do have my health, strength, and a sane mind. I say sane mind because a lot of times people who go through it, not so much. That's not their story. They have mental health issues, deeper levels of mental health. So I'm proud about that. And then 1 thing I want to accomplish is I had this wild dream that I want to be able to, and I'm just now really speaking it. That's interesting that you said it. I'm just now that I want to be able to touch like 100,000 women with resources and tools. 100,000 women. So I was just thinking that not too long ago, and I was like, wouldn't it be cool to be able to literally target and track 100,000 women to be able to provide them with the tools, and resources that they need.
Yes.
What I found and in my journey is that a track number grows.
Yes.
Number grows. And so I know that'll be a part of my plan some type of way. And so maybe the 100,000 and then turn into 1 million,
Yes.
So yeah, that's one of my goals, a huge goal that I want to do. Not sure how long that's going to take, but I am willing to do the work for it. I'm willing to do the work for it. Interesting that I nobody knows that either. So I just said it.
Well, this is the platform for it, because the show is called Inspiring Nations. And
Yes.
so for you, that is an absolute goal to reach, because I think if we don't have these big dreams, we'll never hit them. If we're always attaining these small dreams, it never pushes us forward. So you mentioned earlier that you are the mother of 3.
Yes.
And are they boys, girls?
So my oldest, she's 21, so she's out the house and on her own. Yay! Anybody can feel me who got them grown children that's gone, child. Yes.
I got 2 still in the house. So I'm almost there.
Me too. So I have a 21-year-old daughter, and I have a 12-year-old daughter.
Okay.
She's a middle schooler, and then my baby is a boy, and he's in the 3rd grade. So after life happened, I remarried. My husband didn't have any children, so I often say I have like literally kind of like 2 sets of kids, if you will. So I had one going into college and one going into the 1st grade.
Yes. So tell me, and I think about that, especially for all of our mothers out there. How do you juggle the full-time job, the business, and family?
So I just literally, for me, take one task at a time. I have not been the best scheduler and planner, but I'm finding that if I don't schedule and plan out, and if I don't write things down or make myself notes, I will forget. So I will say to any mom, anyone that's out there aspiring to start their own business and do something and do do their passion, to make sure you stay on schedule and task, have some type of system in place that keeps you accountable for the task and things that you have to commit to. Because if not, I'm bad. I forget everything.
And I can truly attest to that. I keep the scheduler with me, because if I don't put it down on the calendar, it will not happen. So I totally get that.
Yes, I have all types of alarms.
Yes.
Even for today, it was like, bing, you got 1 day, bing, you got 2 hours, bing, you got.
Yes. Absolutely. And so as a mother, how do you inspire your kids?
So with my children, they actually see me doing the work. So when I'm out, when I'm, here late, they can see me doing work. And I'm also in school too. I have a whole lot going on. I'm going to school online. So, but way back when I was younger, I got to my junior year in college and I never finished. Life happened. Had my daughter, my oldest daughter. And again, back then when the going get tough, I'm out. So I was like, okay, life happened. I'm going to have to work and things like that. So my cousin and my girlfriends inspired me to finish. It was like, you just have 1 year left. You just have 1 year left. So I became a certified life coach. And so now my major is psychology.
Okay.
So that, pair the degree with that. Of course, I can totally run my business and do that without having a degree, but it's really like a life accomplishment goal for me. So I graduated in October. I am down to my last 6 classes.
Yes, congratulations.
So I do that in the evening. So how I inspire my children is by them seeing me do the work.
Awesome.
Do the work. They see me doing the work. And I also have to plan and carve out time. So my son, he's playing AAU basketball, which is a whole nother level. Most of the time, my husband is on that. If anybody knows anything about AAU basketball, I'm new to it, but Lord have mercy. It's a lot.
Yes, yes.
I'm grateful that my husband is able to do the practices and all that, and then I'm just able to show up at the games.
Right.
In between games and in between, had timeouts and stuff, I'm doing something on my phone, doing something with work. And they also see me volunteering out in the community when I'm going to speak, so they see me doing all that. So I inspire them by doing the work, and then let them know and be truthful about it. I let them know that although I may not be able to make everything that you're in, most of the things I do try to make, and then I don't make myself feel guilty about.
Yeah.
Because that was hard for me in the beginning, like, oh my gosh, I'm not here, I'm not there. But just know that, and I let them know that too, that, mom is really trying to build a business, really trying to build a legacy. And I appreciate them for sharing me with everybody.
Awesome. Well, I want you to, before we go, I want you to kind of share with our audience, like what's next for Panya? Like, how can people get in touch with you? And then what's next for you beyond your speaking?
Okay, so people can get in touch with me on my website, and that's at www.panyadixon.com. I'm also on Facebook, Panya Dixon, and that's Panya. So my name is different and unique. It's Panya, like Tanya, but with a P. And it's P as in Paul, Anya, Dixon, Dixon. Also on Instagram and Twitter at Panya Dixon. So that's how people can get in touch with me. What's ahead of me is what's to come for me again is creating an online community, and that'll be coming up soon. My book right now, Why Didn't You Ask? My story of domestic violence and rape is actually in pre-sales right now, so it'll be released in the next week or two.
Okay.
We're getting really close where it'll be released, so it'll be available on Amazon, and so please look me up there. You can get the book by ebook or by paperback, so it'll be there. I'm also debating on I want to do an audio book too. So that's in the future, to do the audio book. But I want to continue to public speak, and again create an online community or safe haven, if you will, of survivors, or maybe even women who are going, who are going through it and want to become a survivor, that have experienced domestic violence and rape. So yeah, that's what's ahead of me. And again, to inspire and provide tools for that 100,000 women. It sounds crazy to me, like I can't even fathom it. That's a lot of women, but I'm excited about that goal. I'm excited about
it. And you should absolutely speak it. And so I'm going to ask you 3 words, and I want you to tell me what comes to mind when you hear them.
Okay.
The first word is faith.
Oh my gosh. I often say with faith without work is dead. So I think faith, absolutely, hands down, important. You put some work behind it and you can change the world. You can absolutely change the world. Absolutely.
Next word, love.
Oh, love. Love is wonderful. It's powerful. It's amazing. Love can lift you up, and girl, it can drag you down, child.
Yes.
But I think love is awesome. I think we should always, I think, I can't remember, maybe if it was my age, I can't remember who it was that said, if someone has loved you, you have been blessed. So I love to be loved, and I also love to give love. Yes.
And who inspires you?
Oh my gosh, who inspires me? Oh gosh, Iyanla Van. That is my girl, and I am hopeful one day that I will meet her. I'm claiming it and putting it out here in the atmosphere that I will meet her. Her show has hands down absolutely helped me in so many ways, and has inspired me. She doesn't even know that, but one day she'll know that has inspired me to do what I'm doing. So love her. Iyanla Van totally inspires me. Totally inspires me.
Well, I just want to say, and thank you so much for gracing us on our show today of Inspiring Nations. And it was truly my pleasure to meet you finally.
It's nice to meet you too.
And please come back again. We would love to have you on our show.
Absolutely.
And ladies and gentlemen, Miss Panya Dixon, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you, and have a great evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.